Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really plunging into a world that's often hidden, the dark web. We're going to unpack a pretty remarkable law enforcement operation. Our mission, using your sources, is to shed light on the astonishing scale of some really serious tech-savvy crime, and also how it's being fought and what that means for, our digital lives. Think of it as getting you up to speed on one of the toughest online battles out there.
Yeah. It's definitely a disturbing topic we're tackling, no way around that. But it's so important to understand it. And what your sources show is not just how widespread this problem is, but also the sheer ingenuity needed from law enforcement just to even start making dents in these hidden networks. It really shines a light on those unseen front lines.
Okay, let's get right into it then. This deep dive focuses on a key investigation, codenamed Operation Grayskull. This whole thing kicked off back in 2020. Law enforcement basically noticed this suspicious surge in traffic going to a specific dark website.
And the scale, I mean, that's what just jumps out immediately from the sources. It's almost hard to wrap your head around. You've got an FBI official mentioning these sites drew in, what, over 120,000 members?
Yeah, incredible numbers.
And housed millions of files. Millions saw at least 100,000 visits in a single day.
Wow.
Matthew Gagliotti, he's head of the Justice Department's criminal division, he pointed out how tough it is for prosecutors to grasp just how pervasive this is, because it's all happening, on the dark web.
That hidden part of the internet.
Exactly. These special browsers designed for anonymity. This wasn't just a few bad actors. It was like a whole dark economy built on exploitation.
That point about the dark web is really key, isn't it? For you listening, it's not just hidden. It forces law enforcement to completely rethink how they gather intelligence. They can't just rely on traditional surveillance. Okay, let's pivot to the people involved, starting with a really major arrest. One of the biggest captures in Operation Grayskull was William Spearman, known as Boss. So, November 2022, FBI agents go to his home in Madison, Alabama, and they were prepared for serious danger.
Yeah, the sources make that clear.
The search warrant itself, it needed personal approval from the FBI director. That tells you something.
All right, high stakes.
When they breached the door, they used tactical explosives.
Which signals, the perceived threat level.
And Spearman apparently fought back, struggled with agents, and he had 3 handguns just barely out of reach.
Wow.
He was caught, though, and it was designated a high-value arrest.
Meaning they expected his capture to really disrupt things.
Exactly. The Justice Department called him one of the most significant purveyors of child sex abuse material globally. He pleaded guilty about a year later. Life sentence.
And Spearman's case, it's really central to the whole success story of Operation Grayskull, isn't it? He was a key piece in what they called an unprecedented takedown. One of at least 18 people convicted for actually leading and using these dark websites to share this horrific stuff.
18 just for the leadership and core usage.
Yeah. And the sentencing memo is quite chilling. It said it was no wonder he resisted the FBI, because the devices they found right there at his desk had massive quantities of evidence.
Just massive.
Proving his role as a lead administrator, plus an enormous collection of images and videos depicting the rape and abuse of children.
Yeah.
So this wasn't just about finding the material, it was about taking down the infrastructure.
And Spearman wasn't alone, as you said. There were others. We also see Selwyn Rosenstein. He got 28 years back in 2022. Prosecutor said his platform wasn't just a website. It was a large, active community of pedophiles and abuse material enthusiasts.
A community. That framing is significant.
And Rosenstein apparently had so many images, he actually started storing some on his business server.
His business server. Good grief.
Yeah. Shows the sheer volume, the sort of industrial scale of it all.
It really does. And it also points to the technical side of things, how savvy some of these individuals were. Another big conviction mentioned is Matthew Gurrell from Raleigh, North Carolina. 20 years for him. Prosecutors talked about his involvement as an extremely complex and technologically sophisticated conspiracy.
Beyond just standard offenses.
What's really disturbing, he had a kind of predator's handbook.
A handbook?
Yeah, with detailed instructions on how to groom children for abuse later on. It shows this wasn't just passive consumption. It was organized, planned exploitation.
That detail is just
Yeah, we really brings on the calculated nature of it. And the list of states where these convictions happened: Virginia, Maryland, Indiana, Texas, Washington, Arkansas, Michigan, Oklahoma. It underscores how widespread this network really was.
Not just one location, but a distributed criminal network. Makes dismantling it incredibly complex work.
And that network had its own sort of internal mechanics, right?
Hmm.
Matthew Galeotti, again, he shed some light on how these dark websites actually worked. Often, members had to earn their way in
Earn it. How?
by paying a fee, maybe helping moderate the site, or, and this is the worst part, contributing child abuse images or material themselves.
So feeding the beast to be part of it.
Exactly. A truly chilling ecosystem.
So what does that tell us about the criminals? I mean, besides the obvious depravity, Galeotti mentioned that, as sadistic as they may be, they are somewhat sophisticated.
Right.
They were using encryption extensively.
Which basically scrambles everything, makes their data and communications incredibly hard to track or intercept.
Definitely requires advanced tools, international cooperation probably too. It changes the whole game for law enforcement.
It absolutely does. And Abigail Boccaccio, she's an FBI unit chief, she added another layer here. She noted that the leadership team that operated one of the sites also operated several of the others.
Ah, so interconnected.
Exactly.
Mm.
Which meant that once they cracked the first site, they could use that intelligence to go after and shut down 3 more.
So not just one whack-a-mole hit, but a strategic blow.
Precisely. A disruption of a whole network, hopefully stopping them from just popping up somewhere else immediately.
Okay, so summing up the impact here. Operation Grayscale sounds like a huge success, right? Galeotti called it one of the most successful of all time.
I praise.
And he specifically said, we dismantled 4 websites that have not regenerated.
That's the key metric, isn't it? That they stayed down.
Yeah, a really critical victory.
It is. But it also raises some big questions for the future, doesn't it? Chris Delzato, acting FBI Deputy Assistant Director, he said something pretty stark. Few people would have envisioned how child abuse materials would permeate the internet the way it has today. He described the people involved as part of an online community of hundreds of thousands, with leadership roles, rules, and a common dedicated purpose.
Hundreds of thousands.
Organized.
Yeah, that level of sophistication, that organization.
Mhm.
It's not just individual criminals anymore. It represents this evolving landscape where digital threats are really structured, very resilient, and that demands new, equally sophisticated strategies from law enforcement moving forward.
So today's deep dive really took us into, well, the hidden and deeply disturbing scale of these dark web networks, but also, crucially, the determined and incredibly sophisticated efforts by law enforcement to fight back. It really underscores how vital these operations are for making the digital world safer, even, in its darkest corners. Definitely. And while Grayskull was a major win, like you said, the source material really hammers home how this stuff constantly evolves. The tech sophistication keeps ramping up, which leaves us with a big thought, I think.
Yeah.
As technology keeps racing ahead, how do we as a society really adapt our defenses? How do we stay ahead of these constantly shifting threats hiding in the unseen parts of the internet? What new collaborations, what innovations are going to be needed to keep up that vital vigilance?
It's a sobering thought. It really makes you appreciate the immense, often unseen work going on to fight these battles and the kind of constant vigilance that's required to protect the most vulnerable.